Hi, welcome to the Creating a PHP Contact Form tutorial. You'll see on the screen here I have a folder called PHP Contact Form. That's the folder that we'll be working in for this project. I'll be using an editor called Brackets. I'll put a link in the description to the editor as well as the source code and additional articles that I've written about this contact form project. So without further ado, let's get coding. First up, I'll open it as a brackets project. My folder structure I use similar to cPanel, so I'll have a public HTML directory, which everything inside there is accessible to the public, and I'll have an app directory where everything inside there is only accessible by PHP itself, so anybody from the outside can't access it. So stuff like your database and your private functions and stuff will be stored in there. So let's get starting with that. We'll create a folder called app, and we'll create a folder called public. Boom. XML, and then I like to include this little file just for myself to make it a bit easier. So we'll say cd all that this does is it's going into the public.html directory, and then it initializes a PHP server session so that we can actually see the project that we're building. So to give you an example, double click on that, you'll see here we're using PHP 7.3, and we can access the project on localhost port 1234. So we go here, we say localhost 1234. There we have a PHP instance running. So now we go back. Then I want to create 3 files, header.php, footer.php, and our contact form we'll just call basic.php. Then for this I'm going to use Bootstrap as the base HTML just because I don't want to write all of it from scratch. And then I split it, so the header HTML and the navigation and that stuff I normally put in header.php, and all the scripts and the JavaScript and other custom scripts will be in the footer, and then the core of the project is in the basic.php system. So for Bootstrap we'll just use normal version 4. I have a copy of it here, so I'll just copy that in, and then footer, copy it to footer, and then on basic we have to include those ones, so include header.php, and footer.php. Alright, so you will see that it actually works. You see simple contact form, so it actually PHP server is actually running. So now what we want to do is we want to create a form. So I'll do it with Bootstrap. Just copy some generic stuff in here. This is just to display what we're actually building, simple contact form. And then we'll have a container, and then we'll create a form inside the container. So we'll create a form. So the action is self, the method is post, and then on Bootstrap I think it's div class, then form group, oops, form group, and then I want to create a label. We'll say it's for first name. First name. And then the input. Type is text. ID, let's call it first name. And then class, I think is also called form control. So, control. And then the name of this input will be first name. Alright, let's just double check to see if that actually came out right. Alright, they did. And then we'll put a little bit, and we'll put a placeholder in there maybe. Enter your first name. Let's just see what that looks like. Ah, that looks neat. So, I'll copy this and make this last name. Last name. Enter your last name. Also text. This will make email. So I'll say all of this can actually be email. Call that email. Enter your email address. And then this we will make message. So all of this we can change to message, but this will create a text area. And closing text area. Placeholder. Let's make this size. So I think it's called rows. Make it 3. And the type is still text. Right. I also need a submit button, so I actually think we can just go with button and then call it submit. Make the class btn primary, and we have to create the type and say it's a submit. Let's see what this looks like. All right. Enter your first name. Enter message. The idea is a guy's gonna give us his first name, his last name, his email address, and the message. So let's just check. Why is the submit button not looking like it should? Oh, because I spelled like a cat. There we go. So this button will be the submit button, which will work. Let's just make sure that information is actually being submitted. So we'll just create a PHP, open PHP form, and then say if the server So what we want to do is just want to see if we submit what is actually being submitted. So I'll just do a quick var dump so we can see what we're working with. So I'm just going to var dump the post variable. So let's fill in my details. So line 6 is a problem. I can actually just remove this. Sorry. And there we can see we have first name, a variable, first name, last name, email, and message. So our form works. Right, so now that we know the form works, we want to clean the user input now and then store it in a variable that we'll use to populate an email template in order to email ourselves. So let's initialize everything. To set the error variable, so set the idea of the error variable is if any of the data is not what we expected it, we want to display the user some sort of feedback to say, hey, you haven't entered a valid email address. And of course, we want to prevent the app from sending out the email if the data that we've gotten is not what we're looking for. So I'll just create an array called errors, and I'll set that to an empty array, like so. So first thing, we want to create a function in order to clean all the user inputs. So we'll say function clean input, and that will take an argument called user input. Okay, what we want to do is we want to take what we want to do, we want to take the user input and then we want to trim it. This doesn't actually clean it, it just makes sure there's no white spaces in the front and back, which irritates me sometimes from people if they enter the forms. And then after that we want to strip slashes, and then we want to escape the user input, special entity jars, HTML special jars, right? And then we obviously want to return user input. So that's the function to make sure the data is safe for us to store in the database. Then we want to check if the check if the data received is actually set and valid. So for first name, we'll do if not empty, I'm not sure if you guys can see, but there's 3 cats next to me in my way. So anyway, we want to see if it's not empty, then the first name can be set. So we'll create a variable called first name, and we'll obviously want to clean this up. That's why we created the function. So clean first name, else meaning it was not sent, not set. We want to send out an error, so we'll push to this array, and so the array we're going to push to is called errors, and the message is going to be first name cannot be empty. Cannot be empty. We need to create some sort of a way to give the user some feedback. So what I think we'll do is we'll create underneath the container, we'll create a row. So let's say div class row, and then class call 12, call MSM, and then In here, what we want to do now is essentially loop through the error array, and then if there are errors present, display it. So the first step would be to make sure the errors are actually present. So we'll create a little PHP function or script, and we'll say if not empty, post, no, sorry, if not empty errors, then we have to loop through those errors. But I want to display it in a alert, so we'll go def def class alert danger. I think that's what it's called, alert danger, and then the role and alert. Okay, I think that's the Bootstrap syntax for alert, but now we need to create the loop. So we'll say PHP, then for each errors as error, please echo out the error, but we also want to just put a line break next to it, otherwise all the errors is going to be on one line, which won't be nice. Right, it should do it. Let's test. First name cannot be empty, so that works. Now we just want to continue on here. We want to go for last name, so I'll copy this and I'll say last name, make this last name, I'll make last name as well, this has to be last name as well, and then we'll say last name cannot be empty. Let's test that. Last name cannot be empty. It's pretty neat so far, and if I fill in my first name and I submit that, it still says last name can't be empty. Cannot. That's perfect. So for email, we want to make sure the email is set and the email is actually valid. So we'll go if not empty, post email. If it's not empty, then we want to validate. We'll say if filter var, and then it's going to be post email. We want to say filter validate. I want to say filter validate email. If that is actually true, then we can set the email. Clean input. And I'm just gonna copy this. Else, it's not the correct email, so we'll say array push, and then we'll say in errors, the error should be please enter a valid email address. Then we also need one in case the email was not filled in entirely, so I'll say there. I'll just copy this and we'll say please enter an email address. So let's just quickly go test that. So if I just type in that, yeah, the default thing won't work, but that works. And the YouTube, so that's fine. For that, we just want to handle the full message. So and we say if not empty, if not empty message, then we can clean it. So we say message equals clean input, and I'll just again copy this. Right, else do an array push into errors to say message cannot be empty. Alright, so now we have enough validation to make sure all our fields are required. Of course, we can enter required here, which I'll probably end up doing, but I prefer to always handle these sort of things server-side, just because people can easily create some sort of a script or bot that hits your page the whole time, and then your HTML validation is not going to be worth anything. So it's always important, or it's always advisable to handle it in both instances. In the HTML to just stop stupid users, but also on your server-side script to actually stop malicious people from screwing with your server. So I'm going to remove it for now, but I'll eventually add it. So now we want to actually send off an email. And to do that, we only want to do it if none of these errors are set. So the first thing would be to count the errors. So say if count errors are 0, then we're safe to assume there are no errors with set. First we'll wrap the message. So wrap the message, I'll make it message equals word wrap, sorry. Wrap. And then it's as easy as sending the mail. So send the email, it will be sent equals mail. This is using PHP's built-in mail function. So most servers that you host on will have a default mail server set up. If it's not the case, then in the next tutorial I'm going to show you how to use phpMailer, which essentially allows you to use your own mail server, so that this app of yours can run on any server regardless if they have a mail server or not. So we'll just say mail, and we'll create the 2 persons, so that's YouTube at eriktiart.com. The subject is contact form submission. How do you spell it? Submission. Looks okay. And then the message, which will be the one that we actually fill in. But now we want to make sure this actually works. So we'll say if sent mail, the mail function will return true or false. So we can use that actually in a condition. So if sent, then we want to create a confirmation message. Confirmation message. So I want to say thank you for your message. We can use their first name, makes it a bit more personalized. Thank you for your message, first name. We have received it successfully. But if it failed, then we want to do an array push so that we can use the same errors variable. So since that your message was not sent, please contact us. Please contact us directly. We can actually say something like error 42. It doesn't mean anything, but if your user now calls in, assuming you have your number on your web page, and you can ask them what was the error, and they'll say error 42. But you know what error 42 actually means. It means something went wrong sending the email. So it's a cool way to not give out too much information to the public, but still have enough for you to actually debug and solve the problem. So in this case, we'll say error 42. Now, when we're going to test this now, it will fail because I'm running on a Windows machine without a mail server. So let's quickly test that out. So we'll go to Firefox, fill in my name, fill in my surname, email address, and the message. Hi, this is test message. Line 51. What did we miss? That is what we missed. So we'll just do a resend, and then it should come back with a failure. Failed to connect. There we go. So this is what your users will see if it actually failed, which is unlikely to happen if you host it on a server with a mail server. But let's just remove this conditional to say if it was not sent, then we'll show the confirmation message, just so I can show you what it will actually look like. On that note, we have to create the confirmation message. How did I think about it? So on here, we'll just create PHP, and then we'll say if not empty again, confirmation message. Then we want to show another alert, but this time a positive one. So div class, and then I think it's alert success, and the role is also called alert, and then we just want to echo out confirmation message. Let's test it now. Now what we've done is we've just reversed the condition so that false is true and true is false, just for testing. Fill out all my details again because I'm lazy. I'm just doing this. Hello. And that should be green. Boom. So the top message your people won't see. That's only because I'm testing locally. But this is what we'll get. Thank you for your message. Change that. There has to be a space. There has to be a space. That is my mistake. Let's run this one more time for sure. And that's beautiful. So it says, thank you for your message, Eric. We have received it successfully. Boom, you got a working contact form. I made a small edit. I added this little mail body. It's basically just creating a standard template, filling in the guy's first name and last name, the email address and the message, and then we're mailing that mail body instead of the message. So just to go over it one more time, we have a form that's being submitted to itself. We have a PHP script that only listens to a post event. Once a post event is triggered, we set an empty array of errors. The reason I'm using this empty array is simply for scalability. This allows you to add many different fields, and all you have to do is add new error messages without changing the fundamental system. So yeah, I think it's a neat little approach. And then we're sending an email off if all the data that we've gotten are what we expected it to be. So please let me know in the comments if there's anything that you would like to add to this, or if there's anything I'm doing wrong. I don't think so, but I mean, I'm a lifelong student. There might be things that I'm missing or better ways to approach this specific problem. So please let me know in the comments, and then thank you so much for watching, and have a nice day. Goodbye.